let's open the January 9th meeting of the Select Board. So first on our agenda.
June.
Did I say January? January. Oh, it's, January somewhere. The June 9th meeting of the Select Board. Do I have a motion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
I'll make a second.
And Jamie, I don't believe you can vote on these, right?
I can't.
Technically, you can.
I was
Yeah.
there last,
Okay.
People abstain if they weren't.
Okay.
but I was
So,
there
yeah.
last meeting.
Okay. Yeah, these don't go through April 28th, I think, but okay.
Oh, I thought they were from last meeting.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that was easy. One-day alcohol license for Chesterwood. Anyone got a problem with it in the public or on the board?
I'll make a motion we accept the one-day alcohol license for Chesterwood for June 11th.
Jamie?
I seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that an aye?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, we've done two out of two. Public comment. Anyone have any public comments? Yes.
From here.
Anita, go up to the thing and so everyone can hear you. The chair.
Chair.
Hey, sure.
This
The podium is not here.
No, I noticed.
Because the speaker can hear you better.
What speaker?
Not speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, congratulations to Jamie, to the new board, well, the reconstituted board. I wanted to thank Roxanne for her past service on the select board. And I just wanted to say thank you for having the public comment at the beginning of the meeting. It's incentive.
Thank you for reminding me to add it after we promised it last week.
I'm good at that. Yeah,
The first draft didn't have it.
so I want to send out the minutes. No, just thank you for that. And I was just curious whether or not the other room has been set up yet with the Zoom equipment.
Not yet,
But
but we will eventually have it set up, but we haven't had any conflicts yet, and we can make sure everybody has access to this. So we have tons of time and availability.
okay. Well, my conflict in the last question is, has the harvester gotten out yet? I thought I heard sounds of a harvester on the lake.
No.
No.
Not even the big one?
Are the weeds
I
ready
thought
to
we were
harvest yet?
waiting for the
Chestnut.
harvesting of the water chestnuts.
Which will be,
I don't know.
We're thinking that,
Yeah, all right.
is that one of the updates?
I will.
Yeah, we're going to cover that in the update.
okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. All right. Next we have, let's see. We've got next the Regional School District Planning Board folks. Hello, that's Lucy Prasker, Peter Taylor. Who else we got here? Peter Dillon. And you are, yeah, that's right, Jason. Hi, how are you? Nice. He's on our school committee. Yes. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
You again?
Nice to see you again. I was last here February 25th, 2021, and that was a Zoom meeting. So I'm really happy to be here in person tonight. Promised last year that we would be back in a year and update you on our progress. Decided to spare you a PowerPoint presentation. Did bring a couple of short fact briefs in our most recent press release and hard copy. So you've.
And just to position this, the Berkshire Hills Regional School District and the Southern Berkshire Regional School Districts, the 8 select boards, I believe, voted to conduct an exercise, which Lucy is chairing, to consider whether to merge the districts.
Right.
A lot of interesting opportunities with tough questions, and I think that is what we're working on now.
Right, thanks. So just a little bit of history to frame the discussion. The 8-town board was formed in March of 2020. So we've been at this over 2 years. The composition of the board is determined by statute. 3 members from each town who are to be appointed by the moderator of each town, with one of the 3 being a school committee member. And the statutory mandate is to determine the educational and financial advisability of regionalization. If we determine that regionalization is advisable, we report out our recommendation to each of the 8 select boards, who are then required to put the question to the residents of the town. So the ultimate decision is made by the residents of the 8 towns. In the first phase of our work, we engaged the Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools, which is known as MARS, to examine the baseline case in both of the districts and to project out, do financial projections that looked at what things would look like if we didn't change our current model of operations. So some refer to that as the do nothing scenario. If we don't change anything, what are things going to look like in the future? And Mars reported out those findings in October of 2020. And that report confirmed that we have had a dramatic decline in enrollment in both districts. And the decline is projected to continue. The projection is that from 2000 to 2030, so over the span of 30 years, there will be an enrollment decline of 52%, so over 50% decline in the matter of 30 years. The report also confirmed that operational costs, the lion's share of which, of course, are personnel costs in both districts, will rise every year. They have been rising and they're projected to continue to rise, no surprise there. That state funding for our districts is projected to remain flat. So we have declining enrollment, increasing operational costs, flat state funding, all this happening while the needs of our students continue to increase in many areas, and particularly in the areas of social emotional development, special ed, English language learners, and other areas as well. Our analysis of the MARS findings, which were supported on the enrollment side by a report from the New England School Development Council, known as NESDEC, led our finance subcommittee to conclude in December of 2020 that our current model of operation is not sustainable, which led us, the full board, to embark on our second phase of work to look at what alternative models might serve our kids and our communities better. So that was phase 2 of the board's work. And in June of 2021, after we met with you and got some funding from you and the other 7 towns, and we got some state funding, we engaged our current research team, which is led by Jake Eberwein, who is also our project manager. Jake wanted to be here tonight and apologizes for not being able to make it. He had another commitment, which he just couldn't move. But for those of you who may not know him, Jake is a longtime and highly regarded educator in the county and researcher. He is the former superintendent of 2 Berkshire County schools, Lee and Pittsfield. He has on his team 2 other former superintendents, Bob Putnam and Ken Rock, who is also an expert in career, vocational, and technical education, which is known as the acronym CVTE. And also on the team are experts in school finance and in communication. So following 9 months of study and 15 separate research reports on specific areas, including enrollment, indicators of educational quality, historical efforts at regionalization and collaboration, facilities, and others, the research team on March 22nd of this year presented its findings on 7 different possible models, ranging from increased collaboration all the way through the spectrum to full merger and consolidation, together with its recommendation on what the team believed was the model that held out the most promise. And the preferred model that was recommended by that team was a merger of the two districts into a single pre-K through 12 district, maintaining all elementary and middle schools as they are, but creating a new merged 9 through 12 high school to be built on the Great Barrington campus. So single district, keeping the existing elementary and middle schools where they are, and a merging of the high schools on the Great Barrington campus. The report of the team and their recommendation, which spans well over 100 pages, and Patrick and I and everybody else have read all of those pages. We don't know that everyone in the county will, but in South County will, but it is posted on our website at 8towns.org, and it is a very comprehensive report. In support of their recommendation, the research team identified both educational advantages and fiscal efficiencies that it believed would be achievable by combining the two districts. The educational advantages, which are listed in this press release that's in front of you, include expanded programming for high school students, including up to 8 CVTE programs. So 8 career vocational technical educational programs. Expanded opportunities for all students through additional courses, electives, and enrichment experiences. So really pooling all of the electives that are currently offered in the two districts and having all of those electives being available to all the students in the high school in the two districts. More professional development and support for our teachers. A pooling of resources to address the growing needs in the areas of social emotional development, special ed, English language learners and others. Greater variety and support for sports and other extracurricular activities. A larger, more diverse student body, which is something that when you think about it is obvious, but it's not always on the list as an educational advantage. On the fiscal side, we have alignment of administrative and operational functions, which obviously can result in fiscal efficiencies. And savings, the modeling showed savings in the range of 1.5 to 2.1 million annually that could be reinvested in educational enhancements. Those savings could be used to offset increases in town assessments, or they could be used in some combination of those two things. Invest some of it in educational enhancements and use some of it to tamp down increases in town assessments. So after that recommendation was made by our research team, the members of the 8-town board then held 3 two-hour meetings, which were facilitated by an outside facilitator, to discuss each of the 7 possible models. And on April 26, following those deliberations, the board voted by a vote of 16-6 to select as its preferred model the model that the research team had recommended. Again, the single district, pre-K through 12, single administration, maintaining existing elementary and middle schools where they are, and merging the high schools on the GB campus. In taking that vote, the board recognized that there was much work that lied ahead, including more research of the selected model, particularly in the area of transportation, a more rigorous testing of the assumptions used in the modeling and the financial modeling that demonstrated savings, and additional community outreach. So that is the work that is now ongoing. We've also begun to lay the groundwork to begin the process of drafting a new proposed 8-town regional school district agreement that could be put to the voters in the 8 towns perhaps as early as next spring, assuming the board determines that it indeed wants to make that recommendation to the board after the additional work that is done.
Do you want questions at the end or as we go?
We can do it either way. Patrick, up to you.
I'm just curious, what subcommittee is going to handle the drafting agreement?
Which subcommittee is going to do what?
handle the drafting of the 8-town agreement.
Yeah, so, and I was going to get to that next, actually. Our plan is to put together an advisory group that is composed of folks actually outside of the board to help with that work, to help advise the board in that area. And our hope is to enlist into that group folks from each of the 8-member towns. It's not going to be easy to put the right team together for that work. It's going to be a substantial time commitment. We're hoping to meet every 2 weeks. And there obviously are some tough issues to tackle in drafting that agreement. So we're looking for creative minds. We're looking for folks who are interested in finding solutions with positive energy and who preferably have had some experience in working through these types of agreements. So that's the plan, is to put together an advisory team that can help with the drafting. We have council engaged, and we have engaged Mars, which is very experienced in drafting regional agreements. They're going to be an outside consultant to the effort. And we're going to put together this advisory team and work through it, then bring the recommendation back to the board, and then obviously test it out with all the select boards and finance committees in the respective towns. So that's the plan. Another priority for this phase of work is community outreach, and I'd like to turn the floor over to Peter Taylor to speak to that.
You want to stay close, or do you want me to take the chair?
You can take.
Mike's here and for the Zoom.
What's that?
The mic is here for the Zoom, so that's why we have.
Well, first of all, I will be brief because Lucy covered most of the territory, but my job tonight is to share a little bit more about both the value the process is placing on community engagement and also how that input is being folded into our process. Before that, I just want to thank the board for your support of this work. And Patrick, particularly your continued involvement now that you are chairing the select board here, your choice to stay on the board to create that important link between Stockbridge and the process. Educating our kids is probably the most important thing we do as communities, and it's also a touch point that is important for so many residents, be it parents, teachers, or students. And so we, from the earliest stages of this process, recognize the importance of engaging the community in this process, hearing directly from them. We were established in February of 2020, actually right down the hall from here. In March, obviously the world changed. And so our ability to go out into the community to engage people in person stopped in its tracks. And that was indeed our intention. But in spite of that challenge, we have continued on with our efforts. We have done a series of focus groups with teachers and with students and with parents. We've done a survey that got hundreds of respondents. We have made open invitations through press releases and through our social media for parents and students and teachers to attend our meetings, especially the 3 meetings that Lucy just mentioned, and where we did a careful analysis and discussion of the 3 models. And upcoming on June 28th and 30th, we're doing 2 online virtual community engagement sessions. We've retained an experienced educator who has successfully moderated online engagement sessions for various educational initiatives in this county and beyond. And so it promises to be a format that is engaging and also gets constituents, gets parents, teachers, students into smaller groups where they can listen to each other and we can listen to them as the board. And so that is really the importance of the work. I think what was interesting to me, Lucy and I did not compare what we were going to say tonight, but as she listed the educational benefits that we found through the analysis through our research team, they mirror what we have learned through our community engagement, because what parents and teachers and students have told us is that they want a larger variety of classes. They want more extracurricular opportunities. And, you know, what we've also heard in terms of concerns is issues around transportation. How long will the bus routes be? And also what might be the impact beyond employment. So we want to be mindful of the strengths that we see through collaboration and potential merger, but we also want to hear the concerns because it's important for those concerns to come forward and for us to think together how we can address those concerns.
Are we, is community outreach now, and I know some of the answers to these questions are for the public, is community outreach including some of the benefits to the overall community? For example, the better the schools, like, for example, expanded CVTE and a brand new high school, the more likely you are to attract buyers like full-time residents for real estate rather than maybe a month or two or someone who wants to buy an Airbnb. And I'm just wondering if we're making the case for the larger benefits to the region, especially based on some of the, other but somehow related controversies that we've seen in the news lately, like around, having full-time home ownership as a goal in and of itself.
Well, Lucy's mentioned, and it also came through on our discussions to date with stakeholders, the importance of career vocational education. And that is indeed, I think, one of those topics, Patrick, that you're referring to, where the employer community has a stake in that because they're looking for the next generation of staff that are going to be able to make those companies work locally. And so, yes, we have reached out and we're trying to engage them in the 28th and the 30th, the employer community, the business community. But also, I do think as we move through these next phases, how do we make the proactive arguments in favor of the model that ultimately, if one is chosen by the board, because we are doing that next round of due diligence, how do we position that so the voters, because ultimately this is a political decision of all of the 8 towns, and this process, if we affirm and we move forward on the merits of the merger, we need to inform the citizenry of what those benefits are, including the examples that you talked about, the employer community, year-round residents in terms of the correlation of high-quality education and real estate values, and also just what an informed citizenry does in terms of a vibrant economy and community.
So I just wanted Peter Millan to have a chance to talk about how our work of the 8-town board fits with the work that Berkshire Hills is doing with the construction and planning of the new school.
So I'll try to be quick because I know you've got a long meeting. As you know, the other night, Great Barrington was the third of 3 towns to approve the authorization to borrow for the feasibility study. So that's great news. And it was nearly unanimous in Great Barrington, which is a great sign. What happens now is on August 1st, the clock starts ticking with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. And then we have 270 days to form a required building committee and then an optional but thoughtful outreach committee to do some work around enrollment. And then have that drive a potential model or models for a new school or potentially, because it's part of the process, a renovation and an addition. And lots of people are asking, how can we do that process while we're simultaneously trying to figure out the other thing? And what happens if the other thing falls apart? What I'm working with the MSBA to do is to look at 2 enrollment models simultaneously. One model that would work for the 3 towns and some of the surrounding communities, which would have enrollment be somewhere in the range of 525 to 550, and another with approximately 200 more kids, which would accommodate the students from all of our 3 towns plus the students from the 5 towns south of us. I don't think it's a much bigger deal to cost out and design 2 different versions, a slightly bigger school and a slightly smaller school. The real opportunity is to upgrade all the health and safety And that, but I think particularly to move from 2 approved Chapter 74 vocational programs to 6, 7, or 8, all that work around the trades would be great. And then to have up-to-date and better science labs. So that's what's going on. With that, we'll be reaching out, or the school committee will be reaching out as they appoint various people to those committees. And it's typical that they might, select board folks are really busy, but finance committee people might have a little more time, and we'll get a nice representation of folks from the 3 towns. Any questions on that? That's the quick.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Anyone in the crowd have any questions?
I have just a minute to talk about funding. Thank you.
Sure.
So how has all this work been funded to date? Primarily through state grants. We've received a little over $300,000 in state grants. We also, last year, came to each of the 8 towns and got $8,000 from each of the 8 towns. So we have that $64,000 as well. Unfortunately, there was no regionalization money in the state budget for next year, and that was a real disappointment for us, and frankly, something of a surprise. The money that we do have from the state, the remaining money that we do have from the state must be expended by June 30, 2022, so 3 weeks. Just a word about the $300,000 plus that we've spent so far. It's a lot of money. And most of that money has been spent on expert analysis and review. As you know, all the members of the board are volunteers. There are no stipends. That's all volunteer work. So this is money that's been spent primarily on expert analysis and review. I think the size of that budget gives you some sense, not only of the complexity of the work, but also of the comprehensiveness of the study that we've been performing. We've been able to preserve most of the money that we got from the towns. We've been using state money, preserving the town money. And so we have enough money to take us through September of this year. We're exploring other possible funding options, but I wanted to raise the possibility with you, so it's not a surprise, that we may need, as a last resort, to come back to the towns in the fall to ask for additional funding to get us to next May, which, assuming the additional work that we will be doing between now and then confirms the educational and financial advantages of a combined district, we hope that we will by May be in a position to present a proposed regional school district agreement to the voters of the 8 towns. But we need to get to May to do that.
There's been some, obviously, discussion in the news, the South County news around a variety of formulas that folks, that one might adopt as we look at bringing 8 towns together. What's your sense of the appetite for wholesale change of that?
Change in the methodology?
No, the current funding formula.
Yeah, so that's one of the tough issues that we're going to be tackling as we talk about what the new regional school district agreement will provide. And my sense is that we need to look at all the options and see what's palatable to the 8 towns. And there's going to be a lot of discussion around that. That's why I think it's really important to bring in finance people from the towns and not just rely on our board members to work through those issues.
Okay.
So again, thank you so much for giving us the time. I know I'm over my allotted time,
That's okay.
but I'll do better next year.
This is Rasmussen. You want to come up and talk about Berkshire Regional Planning? Thank you for coming in. How are you, Christine?
That's great. Thank you, Patrick, and board members for allowing me to talk about something that I am passionate about, that you have allowed me to serve on as your representative to the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission. And why this is special to me, besides the work I can do for the town, hopefully with your approval, is that back in the 50s, my father was a selectman in the hill towns, very small populations, trying to figure out how to deal with issues not dissimilar to what we're dealing with today. And I remember as a tyke going to the State House and following my father around as he worked to get legislation passed that would allow some of the hill towns to work together on an economic development plan. So way back then, maybe the seed was planted that this was something that I was going to be interested in. So thank you. I am honored to serve. And I wanted to just give you a little history about BRPC because it is one of 12 commissions in the state. Some of them are like Berkshire County, just the county, while others like the Metropolitan Area Planning Council is, I believe, 140 some towns that all work together through sub-regions. The legislation was actually passed in the 1960s to create these commissions. And so they have been functioning for several years since then. Our commission, as most are governed by 2 representatives from each town in the county. And their management function is to have an executive committee and then a full committee of all the representatives and then subcommittees. I have attended all of the full commission meetings and most of the executive committee meetings because I find the information is valuable. And then there are also a number of subcommittees and I work with the Rural Issues Subcommittee. So I will highlight a couple of our issues as I'm going through this. The staff is approximately almost 50 people. And their goal is to address the quality of life and the quality of our place to live. So there are a variety of issues that they undertake: housing, economic development, historic preservation, pollution control, including the water supply, health issues, and you might not have realized, but if you got your first COVID shot at one of the regional clinics, those were sponsored by the health part of BRPC. They do resource management planning and work on funding. They provide planning services to municipalities, and you have sponsored a planner working with Stockbridge for a few years now, and they help with grants, their application and their management, as well as providing a source of data. And I think many of you saw the maps that they did for the town when we were looking at parcel size. And they gave us a map of how many parcels between 10 and 20 and 20 and 30 acres. So it could help with looking at zoning proposals. They do traffic studies. They are involved with the Complete Streets initiative. And they really want to improve mobility. So that's been something that they've been working on. They provide public information and have a regional purchasing program that is helpful to a lot of towns. As I said, their reports are important. The Berkshire benchmarks study, which just came out, it was started in the first part of 2022, and it looks at what has happened to our region. And the good news is it's a healthier environment. And we've declined in the percentage of people in poverty, and we've stabilized our young adult population. However, our children are struggling academically. There's a decrease in housing affordability and a worsening mental health problem.
How much of that increase was due to the sort of one-time largesse of the government during COVID?
For which,
Well, you were saying that we've reduced poverty and increased,
right. I haven't seen that statistic. It could be in the benchmarks. But certainly that has been an important source of revenue for people in this county. And Berkshire Regional has helped with securing grants, particularly from people, municipalities. So that report is online, as well as a report by the auditor, Susan Bump, who used to live in Great Barrington, I believe. And she has been aware of the disparity between funding for the western part of the state versus the Boston metro area. And she calls it a tale of two commonwealths in her report. And she really lays it out, because here again, the economic boom has benefited the Boston region and has largely bypassed the four western counties, where property values have remained relatively low compared. A little 3-bedroom house in our old neighborhood in Gloucester just sold for $1.25 million. So, we think they're high, but.
Of those. We have a bunch of those.
Yeah, but this is a cabin. I mean, it's, so anyway, I'm reporting from the report also. And she it has given examples of what is happening. And this report is good because it's now become part of the state dialogue. And she said that there are more than 1,400 bridges in Western Massachusetts. 62% are rated as in fair condition and 9% in poor condition. The state average, the western part of the state, only has 7.5% of their bridges rated as poor. So that's an example. The Chapter 90 funding that we depend on so heavily for the work that gets done for our town roads, it's based on a formula that looks at road miles, but also the population and employment practices. So that is a big disadvantage. And she goes on with other things that you can read online, because I'm probably taking longer than you want. But as a result of all of her work, there is an effort that BRPC is working on with the other communities to start an Office of Rural Affairs, a cabinet level office. And so when discussions take place on the allocation of funding, Western Mass will have at least somewhat of a voice, because right now our voice is being lost. So that's the other issue that we talk about at every meeting is housing affordability. And we're no longer talking about affordability. We're just talking now about trying to find workforce housing. And as you know, it's alarming. My generation, you rented for a while and then you had enough money to buy a house. Only 31% of the renters in the county could now afford to buy a house. And if you look at our seniors, over 50% of them are paying more than they should for housing, and so they're house burdened. And so how do we start really addressing this? Because we are seeing the decrease in workers. This past year was the sharpest decline in a decade. And our unemployment figures are higher than the state and national numbers, and our median income has increased, but it still lags behind the state. So this is bringing all of the diverse groups that are working on housing in Berkshire County to seek a grant which would bring them all together and have them sit at the table and try to solve problems together, because you have Habitat for Humanity that does this and another group that does that, and we don't share resources.
And do you do any political advocacy as a group?
We can do some advocacy, yes.
Pet peeve, and I don't know if anyone else agrees with this. We get now, one of our boards, Chuck, I think it was 2 boards ago, when you were chair, we recommended it to the town, and the town adopted an increase from 4 to 6% in the occupancy tax and in the meals tax. There's now an Airbnb tax kind of related to the occupancy tax. We have no insight, not only when it comes to the Airbnbs, who is even paying the tax, because the state won't share it. We don't know how much each of the entities in town are paying. Now, when it comes to your property taxes, every single dollar we generate from someone else is a dollar less that we have to raise and appropriate from our local residents. And the fact that they won't share the information, even though the information on their assessments and how much Shelby here pays in property taxes is public information. In fact, I think I got it right here, Shelby. The fact of the matter is that the restaurants and the Airbnbs and the hotels, they're remitting money to the state, and the state will not share how much they're remitting. So we have no way of having the local folks who know what their level of business is, know if it's reasonable or nothing or something, or we can't even plan around it. And I think this is the number one issue around a lot of this taxation, because a lot of the money in this county, for example, Airbnb, the occupancy taxes goes to affordable housing. So if we're not creating incentives for the locals to track, monitor, and maximize those revenue streams, we're actually shortchanging our affordable housing. And that's the one thing I would suggest is, because, this is one of those touristy towns. And
I will check into it and see what we can find out, and I'll get back to you on it. Just a couple of other things. One of the programs that Berkshire Regional has been participating in with the state is the Community One Stop for Growth grant proposals. And it used to be that if you wanted to seek a grant for money for a building repair, did you go to historic preservation? Did you go to, where did you go? And so right now, this new system is you send in one application and the state looks at it and then sends it to wherever they think it's going to be most beneficial. And so that should help everybody now.
you can apply for that?
Pardon?
Is that just a town or city can apply, or can any entity?
Municipality can apply. There is a deadline, and it was earlier this spring for this year. But it is something that will be coming up. So if there is a grant that maybe you want to work on, this is a potential good program for doing that. And just the one thing that I think is really going to be important for planning, and I'm trying to get my head around it because it's very complicated. But as you probably all know, Governor Baker signed legislation, which is called the Roadmap to Climate Change. And it seems like it's going to work very well with the potential new school discussions that we're having. But what it requires is drastic, zero emissions, almost zero emissions by 2050. And this means a switch to a much more dependency on the electric grid. And so we're looking at the capacity of the grid out here. And Anita, you once told me you were without electricity for like 5 days or something like that. And so I pointed that out, that, you know, we have areas that lose their electricity for a long time. And if that's the only way that people are going to be able to meet these standards, we have a problem. And so there is a lot of discussion, and we are talking about this every month when we meet to try to figure out what the impact will be. And while we support climate change, like, you know, reductions and all of what the state is trying to do, we have to also recognize our limitations. So that is just some of the work. One of the other issues is we're going to need to have electric vehicles, and we need to figure out charging stations. Because I read that the Mass Pike has 2 electric charging stations, and they've been out of business for a year. And I mean,
Folks go to what, the Rockwell's not free, but Big Y I think is free for an hour. Lennox has one that's free for an hour.
we are better than some communities, but it's something that we're working with across the board.
Is there 1 or 2 things that you feel that the town could increase its focus, onto which the town could increase its focus?
I think certainly looking at how we're going to deal with this new energy code, and we're a green community, we want to honor that. I think certainly this new school sounds like if it goes forward, would be a wonderful opportunity to apply some of these techniques. And maybe there could be some grant funding, I don't know, you know, if we were demonstration projects or something. So I think that's a place that you certainly could look. I think, you know, letting Smitty know that you support the auditor's report and creating a voice at the state level that just represents our, you know, our interests, our interest in Western Mass, because they are different and we don't have professional planners. One thing I learned also is that Mike and I were talking about this briefly, the TIF program is a great source of revenue for towns in Eastern Mass to do bridge repairs and all of this. However, in order to qualify for TIF, you never know if you're going to get funded, and it's a 5-year wait at least. But you also have to have engineered plans. The regions in Eastern Mass all have an engineer on staff. So they're not having to pay the cost of an engineer, which can be a lot of money. And then you wonder if that's just going to not go forward. And then you've wasted that money where you might have been better doing the project from all on your own. But that costs your taxpayers money. So I would love to be able to keep this dialogue going. And I know Mike told me yesterday just about some of the grants that he has been able to secure through the Berkshire Regional Planning Agency. And I don't.
Plan B, but it's already 24/7. That was good. Anything else that we want to kind of go over now?
I don't know. I will try to check on the information. As I said, I've only been on it for a year, but there are always going to be issues that.
Feel free to reach out or even come to the public part of the meeting if something really hot that needs to be dealt with relatively quickly comes up.
And I do try to send reports from the executive committee meetings when there's something that's important. A lot of it is.
Sometimes the most important thing in the fewest words is going to be more effective than if it's buried in like 20 pages of stuff that, you know.
Our last.
I'm not saying they have been, I don't know, yeah.
Our last agenda for the whole council was 240 pages.
Good luck with that. I'm never serving on that committee.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Christine.
So thank you for having me. I really
It's
appreciate it.
like a minute each. If you
Yeah.
yeah. Highlights, just like the little magazine.
And if, you know, you can always call me too if you have questions.
So status updates on,
Look like I embarrassed.
so ice climb treatments have started and the work is happening up there with the treatments. Ken Ghosh is doing oversight of the project. So that's underway. The swap shop, we're still examining exactly how to handle the swap shop. Custom order of buildings, if you want to add windows, everything else of sheds is way out there as far as timelines. The only thing available are sheds available, which would be a lot smaller and then, or not have the windows or others.
But do we have
So,
money in?
Talking to, it's availability, not money.
Yeah,
It's getting product, right?
everything is, product is,
No, but I'm just saying, it's almost June 30th. Is there money that we want to kind of?
If we can carry over money if we need to cover the cost of the swap shed. One of the options that we've talked about, Ned brought up, was it could be a good winter project for the highway garage to put up with their, now that they're in their building with heated floors and the rest, they could assemble the walls, windows, have it ready and then just put it up, bolt it and carry through. I know Hugh said he could do it, but the problem is right now they're just,
When you say winter, when could they start? Do you think, when could they finish?
they'd have it up for
Next year.
the fall, right after
Right.
winter, coming out of the winter.
Okay, but it's not a 6-month project, is it? It's just like bolting the pieces together kind of thing, or?
It's,
well, be making it from
yeah,
scratch.
it's scratch. It's quite a bit of work. So, right now, it's not something we have between the cat and dog fountain. We have still the final, finish work that's gonna be happening on the beach all season, plus there's just their normal mowing, weed whacking and everything else. So,
Okay.
yeah, that is. I mean, the other thing is if you wanna consider, here, obviously, our swap shop is more of a thrift shop than a necessarily swap shop that you see at most other transfer stations.
Why?
Most others are usually just open buildings where you might go to the attendant and say, hey, I've got 2 bikes, and they'll say, go put them over in the shed. And then people come in and they grab the bikes out of the shed. Ours became clothing, electronics, sort of a little of everything in it, which then requires a closed building, which then you're staffing, then you're staffing the building, which is different, because we're gonna have a building
Yeah.
that's gonna be closed. I mean, if you wanna consider the other option, just a swap shop where it's just a drop-off point from the attendant.
No, because we vet the materials, see if they're
Yep.
quality, and it's a community thing. It's not just,
Yep.
I think it was fun,
Yeah.
but.
And can I ask a question about it?
course.
I remember the ramp, you explained the ramp was not in compliance. Is that really cost prohibitive to fix it? Is it?
Yeah, because to put
It
up
would
a
be
ramp
more-
to go to that height, once the ramp got touched, the ramp had to meet ADA. The
Okay.
ramp does not meet ADA. In order to meet ADA, you're basically talking a huge ramp to get up to that existing building, which has water that goes underneath it.
Okay,
If you actually get
So it
underneath
is
that building
prohibitive. Okay.
is not in the greatest shape. It
right,
needs
you
to
had
be
mentioned
replaced.
that, okay.
So
Okay.
it's just like a lot of other things, just trying to get stuff and get it done.
Right, but I guess the question I'm asking is, we're certain that they'll have the time to do the building of this thing over the winter, because if
Yes.
it's a question that they might not have the time, we
We're
might as well
talking about
just,
ordering the
we might as well
ramp.
just have professionals build it like right now. I mean,
And you're gonna be professionals either, all booked up.
No, not in the summer.
The small projects like this are what you're running into with people building stuff. They're just all busy. So,
I think there's a question.
go there.
Mike, I got a question, that is, I'm not clear on where the new swap shop is gonna go, or is it gonna go on the same?
No, it's not going on the same. As you come into to the left, there's a piece of property that's the conservation that we cleared, and then it was agreed that we use the
Yeah.
slab there.
where the barn was.
We're gonna put the building there, that's gonna be the swap shop, and then we're gonna use the outside of the building for identification of bird species and other stuff. That was actually presented to the conservation like half a year ago, so. And if you remember, we cleaned up the whole area, removed everything, and removed the
Yeah.
building.
Excuse me, Hugh did.
Yeah, you did a
Yeah,
great
you
job.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just wondering if it was in compliance with whatever deal the person who left the town, that property to be in.
It was left to be a bird sanctuary, we're not touching any of the forested area, and then, like I said, the outside of the building is gonna be used for identification of animals
No, I
and
was just
rest.
wondering if it's in compliance with the original
Yeah.
agreement, that's all.
Yeah, it's left actually to the Conservation Committee,
Yeah, I
to
wasn't
be
here when
stewards
they-
of it.
I wasn't here when they.
We're gonna have like Tweety and Foghorn Leghorn and really all the cast of characters on the walls so that people can kind of, Roxanne.
Yeah, I just have a comment. I did talk to John Dragg about this. The old swap shop, the old Talbot Center, maybe that can be repurposed as the new kennel.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And
It's still the same issue.
Well, can't we just get rid of the ramp?
No. Well, you can put up a new ramp if
Or just move.
that's what we
yeah.
want.
I would say
And
take a look.
the
at
buildings in,
take
Do you need
a look.
ADA for like a building just for dogs?
Different
yeah,
entrance.
any town buildings.
If you're talking kennels, then maybe we
Or a
just.
kennel building?
The different entrance
it could be, or just a new, yeah.
on the end.
Oh, I like it. Okay, what else? Anything?
Web,
Website, so Civics Plus is the low company at $9,700 to do it. They meet all the requirements that we were talking about prior, which includes mainly the ability to push out information instead of people having to go to the website. So I will engage with Civic Plus to begin the process of converting over our website to them.
Yep. I don't have a problem with that, but I would like to still see maybe a demo, just us or whoever wants to attend. Like, I just want to kind of see what we're.
Go to Lennox, everything on there is gonna be what we're gonna have. But yes, we could have them come in, I'll have them, if you want, I'll schedule it for the next meeting. And they'll come in and what they'll do is they'll demo one of the other towns that they do. Great
I
Barrington,
mean, there's certain things on our website that are dysfunctional, like the way that
It's-
pieces of information like agendas are not cross-pollinated in the calendar and in the,
and that was
minutes or whatever.
clearly,
Yeah,
clearly what we wanted and what will happen with the new website, yes.
okay.
It's all cross-referenced, it's all linked together, it's all, everything, so I can have them in if you want at the next meeting.
They don't have to come in. I just would like to walk through and do a compare and contrast of certain functions that don't seem to work very well on ours and how Linux does them. I just
Yeah.
would like to have 10 minutes
Yeah.
for a focus where,
Right,
and also they may have configuration, in fact, I'm sure there's a number of configuration options on this kind of stuff and modules and that sort of thing. And for 9,700, we're getting the bare bones, we're getting everything.
no, we're getting a full-fledged Civics Plus, they have a model, they're national, they do.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that they have modules. And there may have some modules that we want to evaluate the lengths in by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are stuff we can add on afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's if we're gonna, is some of that stuff important enough that we do it? I don't know. I just want to see it. Just want to- Yeah, what the options are,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm looking at, so.
What? I mean, I'm
I
just
have
saying.
a
it's like,
nail and a screwdriver, so I'm
Yeah.
done.
Okay.
And then you had town council and special permits.
No, we talked about it. I'm really just encouraging us to make sure that if we expect lawyers from some of our special permit applicants to come here, that we sort of think through what sort of coverage that we need to have. We've already talked about this. But, for example, we've got a couple coming up, or at least one coming up where I believe it could be, in our interest to have someone on the Zoom from Miaris. So, but we don't have to. I'm just.
I think you also spoke to Donna about that and, having obviously legal counsel on every.
Not every.
Meeting would be, right, it's got to be a pick and choose.
Yeah, of
It also
course.
has to be the ability of us to use continuance of meetings. So that if you run into issues with a meeting and somebody throws out something challenging,
Right.
department that they schedule a meeting probably within the next week, depending on their timelines, and then bring the people back with, and get those, if you get thrown with a curveball.
Yeah, but you guys are in a position already, based on the style of the application, and some of the decisions that were made in the justification of the application, whether or not, it could be more or less of a sail through or contentious or whatever. And I just want to make sure that we, when we need help, we get help. Because I just feel like a lot of our boards are, are taking advice from counsel representing someone else. All righty, next thing. Recommendation for areas of focus for, oh, yeah, it was regional planning. Okay, status updates. Okay, so, just looking at the time, I think we're gonna have time to either get through most of the appointments that we have now, or have a conversation around some of the new committees, select board representatives on the committees. We can try to do it all, but which one do you guys want to start with?
You should appoint some of these committees.
Okay.
Can I have a question?
Yep.
Are they done annually at the same time? And if so, and where are they posted generally? And
The website is a page of all the committee members.
Right, I know that.
And that's pretty much where it's posted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm
So-
just asking a factual question just to learn the ropes here. Just, so do you usually
Every
post
June you
it on the
appoint.
bulletin board or?
So what we do is we just contact the chairs of the board to let them know who is expiring on their committee, and then see if they're willing to re-up. And then from there, we develop a list that comes in June and then comes before this board. Now, some boards can be a little trickier because some boards, it's not necessarily the chair it's just subcommittees. I mean, one that you serve on, the Stockbridge Bowl, like the Board of Health appoints somebody to the committee and approved by the select board, but it comes from the Board of Health, and that. So it's just just getting out, finding out who wants to serve again and then bringing it forward. And then in June, we do it for effective July 1st.
Okay.
And then obviously during the year, if there's openings, like in September or something, you guys could appoint somebody if somebody steps down or something else.
So when is this, let's start right at the top. When is Agriculture and Forestry Commissions, that bylaw has to be approved by the Attorney General?
Yep. So we just have to wait for that.
Okay.
So you can approve them as you
And
have.
can we conditionally approve them to be full members now, or do we have to wait till?
You gotta wait till, well, I know, you probably could.
All right, so I make a motion that we reappoint Matthew, Lisa, and Eric. Oh, no, just Eric, because the only one was up this year. I make a motion, we appoint Eric to the full seat, and that we appoint Shelby and Abigail as alternates to be promoted automatically when and if the Attorney General approves the change in the bylaw status for those two positions. Do I have a second?
Sure. Just double check it. I'll second that. No, it's a great committee. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
All right, so now along that line, so while we're on that one, the select board representative, Chuck, you want to continue to do that one?
Yeah, they just gotta keep sending me the meeting dates.
Okay, so we're going to, so I make a motion that Chuck be the select board liaison to agriculture and forestry. Any second?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor? Aye, aye, aye.
I guess I.
All right, so we got one down. Animal inspector, Mr. John Drake.
Is he up?
He's not up, so I'm just mentioning his name because he is up, yes.
I'll make a motion, we nominate John
You
Drake.
can also group these. You can
Yeah, I know.
group everything and then vote at the end.
There's not that many, and I want to go through them, so we get to the ones, so some of them we're going to talk about. We can do a couple of them now. John Drake for animal control officer, and
Inspector.
those are kind of related, so those two. Anybody have a problem with John
I'll
doing?
make a motion, we appoint John for those.
And by the way, anybody from the public, you're welcome to chime in. This is one where you can just state your opinion before we gavel it in. Second, did we do all that?
Yeah,
Okay,
aye.
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 All right, and I don't believe we need a select board representative to the animal control, though I think it'd be really fun to be it. Let's see, next we've got the Board of Registrars, just Jennifer Carmichael. Anyone want to make a motion
I'll
to
make a
accept?
motion, we appoint.
All right, Jennifer, second.
Aye.
Second it.
Aye,
Aye.
Jennifer's in. Now, Jamie, do you plan on continuing the BRTA rep?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, you can't appoint yourself.
I'll make a motion.
Wait, stop. We cannot appoint ourselves.
Oh.
That's my understanding, unless we make that one of these special committees, which we're looking into. Do you want to just table that one while you look into that?
That's a representative.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can serve as, the board can assign to serve on.
You just
Because I can't
It's an
imagine
outside organization.
Oh, it is, okay,
it's
right,
left
right, right.
open for years and then until I,
All right, then I make a motion, we do Jamie.
Second.
That one, yep. Most favor, aye, right?
Yep.
Okay, I shouldn't vote for you guys, sorry. Berkshire Regional Planning Rep, Christine Rasmussen. I make a motion that we let Christine serve another year. What?
Yes, I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. The two building inspectors, we've got alternates, Paul Green and Matt Colmer. You like both of them?
We use them whenever that is a conflict or
Okay.
the area.
So make a motion, we appoint them, whatever. Alternate building inspector.
Second.
All those in favor?
aye,
Aye, good. Okay, let's see.
what's this?
Cable advisory rep, are you okay being the only one or do we need a second?
I can
Okay,
handle
good.
that if there's
What is
someone else
that?
that wants to. So the Cable Advisory Committee meets and goes over, a lot of times it's just dealing with complaints. It meets quarterly, like issues that come up as far as the cable agreement for Spectrum to serve
Oh,
the
okay.
county. Right now, though, it is important because we're currently coming up on a renewal in February 2023. And a big chunk of the funding for CTSB comes from there. So we want to make sure that this is covered. So I've been attending those meetings.
And Jamie, I went to some of them, they were actually quite interesting, I just don't have time. I don't know if you have any interest that, this one is a much more important time for this, just the next 9 months, because of the contract renewal and carving out money for CTSB. If they cut that, we really don't have any hybrid options other than do it ourselves. So
When does the meetings meet?
it's once.
It's
every-
quarterly, they are quite long.
Right,
They can
but
be
is
quite
it
interesting.
morning or evening?
It's evening, and typically, you can put a couple people on there, and then whoever shows up, it's only one vote per town. So there's 5 towns, every town gets a vote, but you have to have somebody show up to represent the town. If 2 show up, so it's one of those ones that if you were interested in doing it, it'd mainly be if, say, I was away or something and couldn't attend that one.
Oh,
If not, I would plan on attending them.
Okay, I can do that. So that way we have backup, so one person's not always.
So you want to be, so we'll make a motion for Jamie and Michael?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Cemetery Commission, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3 independent reps up this year. Karen Marshall, Candace Curry, and Rich Atwood is the consultant. Make a motion that we appoint Karen and her colleagues.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, excellent. Down to through the seas. Oh, not quite.
Who's going to be the board representative to the cemetery?
I thought we all 3 of us
Board's
were.
on it.
Oh, that's
Select board's on that one.
We should go to that because it hurts the quorum stuff, but we have to change the bylaw for that. Okay, Conservation Commission.
Community preservation.
Community Preservation, Carol and Patrick. Did anybody touch base with Carol? I assume she wanted to keep doing it? I didn't ask her. Why don't we just continue that one while we just touch base and ask her if that's something she wants to do?
You want to approve them, and then if
not,
reach out to her and.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have
I'll
any
make a
problems?
motion, we approve her, and she denies it, then we'll just.
All right, and I'm going to stay on that one. So that is, all those in favor? Or second, I seconded, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, yes, good. So easy. Okay.
Well, it's nice to have these people.
Do you want to hold off on the Conservation Commission one? Or do you have a recommendation now? Do we know?
I don't have it, this is yours.
Okay.
How many openings you got?
Tom LaBelle has thrown his head in
Yes,
his
and
thing in the
Ron's
ring.
recommendation is. Tom
Right,
LaBelle.
right.
Because he
So
used to do it.
we can do, did you check with the bylaw whether we can do 7 on our own? Or do we have to
No,
change the
it's
bylaw?
appointed by, it's established at a town meeting, so ours is 5.
So we have 5 and 2 optional. So basically, because Gary has been the alternate, and that's a yearly appointment, I don't believe he wants to serve, to be reappointed to serve. So we've got Ron, Jamie, Lisa, John, Joe, and Sally. So Sally's the one alternate, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 current members. So we really only have one alternate position open then? Because I don't understand how Jay was on it when we already had 5 people on it.
I'm not sure either.
I mean, we had 6 people for a 5-person board. I probably shouldn't say that too loud because I'm wondering, like, you know, does that call into question decisions of the board? But
No.
I should be quiet at this point.
Wait, John's
Yes.
here.
If I could, I've been on the Concom for, I don't know, 20 some odd years, and I've always been under the impression since the days of.
There was 7?
There was 7 people.
Well, you're the one that, I think you said it was, I didn't find it in the bylaws, so whatever it was established at.
Okay, well, I think it was 7, that's what I was saying. So, okay, so in that case, at 7, we have 1 opening and 1 alternate, unless Jamie, you want to do what I ended up doing, which is making room for the new folks, and I resigned, and then we could appoint all 3 of them. Now, if not, I had not really had a chance to talk to Tom or the other 2 candidates. Tom has got a lot of experience in this, and it is a highly technical thing, but in fairness, it's like the 11th hour, and the other 2 guys have shown an interest in serving, and I kind of don't, I think we opened it up and we got 2 applicants, you know.
When Tom Lavelle was on the Conservation Commission, because the man is a
Yes, I know.
researcher,
I was on with him, yes.
he was invaluable. I would not blow up Tom Lavelle.
I'm not blowing him off. I'm not blowing him off.
Saying,
Yeah, he's,
you know, my wife could pop up and say, I want to be on the Conservation Commission all the time. But, you know, the fact is he was a valued member. He would be a valued member tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know the other 2 members except that, you know, somebody flipped a boat and Stockbridge Bowl, you know.
Cool. I mean, but I asked a question and
Okay, so if we have Ron and Lisa, John Hart, Joe, so that's 4.
no, we have 5. We have Ron, you, Lisa, John Hart, and Joe as members.
And then Sally doesn't count.
Sally's an alternate. So we've got really 9 slots, 7 full and 2 alternates. And right now we have, I think, 10 people in the running. We've got Ron, Jamie, Lisa, John. That's 1, 2, 3, 4,
No, Lisa's not in the.
5, 6. What? A 7-member board.
Right.
And we keep the 2 alternates. That's 9 people. There was 9 positions we can fill. There's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 people on it, right? Who am I missing? Anybody? Joe and Sally is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I don't see why then we can't appoint all 3. 2 of them will be alternates, or I mean, we already have an alternate on it, Sally. One will be an alternate and 2 will be full members.
Well,
See you later. Thanks. You see what I'm saying?
no,
7 and 2 alternates. It's 9 slots, right?
Right.
no, oh, you're saying
What did you have last year?
Gary Johnson was not, you said he didn't want it, so you have an open alternate.
Can I,
Well, but the alternates are appointed every year, so we don't need to reappoint Gary. He didn't, I assume he doesn't want it because he wasn't able to attend.
Right,
well, you know, I asked Barry, you know, I said, I didn't realize that you were an alternate on the Concom. And he said, yeah. I said, you never come to a meeting. He says, nobody ever asked me. So, I mean, you have those who sit back and wait to be asked, and then you have the alternates who are proactive, who actually come.
Well,
how many spots we got to fill?
Let's clarify this for a second. For an alternate vote, they have to be at every single hearing.
I know that.
So it doesn't make sense for them to sit back and wait because if they come at the end because you can't have a vote without a quorum, they still can't vote. They haven't come to all the rest of the meetings. So I'm assuming that anyone who wants to be appointed as an alternate is still going to come to all the meetings and participate because otherwise they're wasting their time. Right, okay. I think we're good.
Well, how many,
we could have Tom and William.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I said, there have been meetings that I was not at where something came forward and I was at a subsequent meeting and I abstained from voting because I wasn't at the previous meeting. I think that's a trend that needs to be a little bit more.
Right.
so we got,
But encouraging people just to show up if
We
we're
got
short.
That's
Tom.
what I have.
we got
right?
Chuck, and we got
So
William.
what apparently is missing here,
So
I might have to look into this. So typically you have 3 people in 2023. So which member stepped off this year?
Jay Ryan did.
All right, so he's 2023, so you have 3 people in 2023. You have 2 people for 2024, but you only have 1 for 2022 this year.
Yeah.
So typically with a 7-member board, you have 2 one year, 2 another year, and then 3
Okay.
in a year. So,
But Jay stepped down.
Right, so why can't we put Tom in Jay's place? Because he was a member before. Tom was.
Yeah.
And William could be the alternate to Gary. And then Chuck could come on when one of us,
No, Chuck could come on now. We're still short one.
yeah,
They all 3 come on now. We have 7
So we-
full-time slots and 2
was
alternates.
there an opening on the conservation? that
Yes, I
wasn't
think there was.
filled for?
I'll make
I
him,
don't know.
There's a missing position here
I'll make a,
for 22.
I'll make a motion that we,
No, wait, hold on a second.
wait,
I don't want to, I would rather do something like flip a coin between Chuck and Bill, because one of them's got to be an alternate and one of them's going to be the full
I thought they're
member.
both alternates.
No, because Sally is currently an alternate and she did not indicate to me that she wanted to be upgraded. And it may have something to do with that she's the secretary. I'm not
So
sure.
Secretary.
So you have Joe, so
But
you
she's the
have Joe,
secretary.
first you have a vote on, why don't you take the vote on Joe DeJoris, says he's up, that's 2020,
Make a motion, we appoint Joe DeGeorgis.
Second.
that takes care of that.
Wait, hold on. All those in favor?
yes.
Okay, so Joe's reappointed.
Now you have another position. that
So he's
should
just
have been-
become 2025.
There's no,
Ryan's-
and there should have been, no, there should have been another 2022 position this year. With the 7, if you look on your sheet,
Yeah,
you have only 1 for 2022. You have 2 for 2023, or 3 for 2023 and 2 for 2024. Which tells me somewhere a couple of years ago, somebody got off the board and no one was appointed.
Probably Tom DeVille.
try Tom and Louisa.
Yeah, because his wife
Because
Louise
there
is
should
also
be
on it.
two people should be up for appointment
So-
this year, and there's only 1.
So-
So you need another appointment through 2025, and then 1 to go through 2023.
So,
What am I up?
Never
John
up
Hart
here.
next year.
2023.
Until you put you in the cemetery commission.
So there are, you have 3 people.
Same year as I am.
Two full-time positions and 1 alternate.
So let's,
hold on a second. We've got Chuck,
That's what I think.
we have Chuck, we have,
So Tom would take Jay's place.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Tom for one of the
let's,
full-time openings.
okay, so let's make Tom a 2025. It's the 2022 doesn't make sense. So we'll put him on the 2025 list.
I'll make a
So-
motion, we put Tom in the 2025 spot.
Okay. Second.
Thank you, yes.
Aye.
Aye.
So now we got one more opening for
Okay.
full-time and one.
So now comes the
You
coin.
have the full-time one in 2023.
Wait,
Well, it's not, somebody has to make a motion.
No, hold on. We're not going to do that until, does anybody have a coin? I literally want to flip a coin. I don't want to choose. They're
but
both
William
good.
had asked us years ago to be on it, but he didn't write the letter. But I remember him asking when we had talking about the property at the lake, and he was very interested.
They're both great. Chuck has
I
been
know,
like
but he
very,
asked first. I remember him asking us. Remember?
yeah, I do remember.
I do, but he didn't write the letter because he didn't think there was an opening.
This is the 2023, this is a 1-year appointment.
1-year appointment.
So effectively, it doesn't really matter because we're going to have a chance to evaluate both of them for a year and see if they actually like it and want to participate in the rest of it. So,
You make the motion.
yeah, okay. I'll go with Jamie's idea and we'll nominate Bill Luttrell for the full position and Chuck for the alternate. But Chuck, I want you to understand that this is absolutely no way
One of the,
an indication of either your, you know, what you bring to the table. So,
Just
so we have a
William
second?
asked
I'll
first.
second.
Okay, good. All right.
perhaps if they do it.
Now you've got,
Vote, aye.
you got 4 people we got to appoint Sally because she's a yearly. Motion to appoint Sally again this year for alternate.
Make a motion, we appoint Sally.
Second, All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Council on Aging. Chris, Ron, Nancy, and Diane. I haven't had the chance to get together and say hi to any of them, but what do you feel? You've been working with them.
Well, one of the things we at some point need to get the Council on Aging Board back together. It's been sort of defunct.
Are we doing that now or is that still on hold?
You don't have to do it right now because we sort of have a working group that's.
How many members you plan to have?
together. It depends. We have different people that show up. We
How
have
many-
a meeting every.
It's
so
not
often.
about how many show up. How many people do you think it needs to run effectively? I'm not talking about this group of people.
Five.
Five, okay. So that means we need to find one fifth person who might want to serve on the Council on Aging, and I think that's one that we should cover. One of the three of us should cover. Do either of you have an interest?
No time.
Jamie?
When do they meet?
That will most likely be during the day.
So now I will do that one if you guys don't have an
I can't
objection.
do today.
So I'm going to be the select board representative. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. And the public, we have an opening and this is going to be great. It's going to be opportunity to play bingo all the time as a VIP, things like that. This is a really important one. A lot of the town is elderly. So somebody please step up and help us. And as far as the four people you already have, we can nominate them now. I would
Oh,
prefer.
just need two.
What?
Just two of them.
What do you mean?
Because Ron Muir and Nancy O'Brien are 2020, one's 2024, two of them are 2024.
Oh,
Yeah, but none of them have been appointed in years. This was just what you did, right?
No, but
Good point.
they were, Nancy and Diane were appointed back when?
To go through 2024?
Yeah.
Right.
Was it,
They should have been.
so they must have been appointed in 2021 then?
21, I guess, yeah.
Okay, so I would like, the one thing I would like is for the committee to start meeting in public, which means we need to appoint them. Because I think that all of these, I personally not a big fan of you also are able to do committees thing. I think we should appoint all committees and they should be on Zoom. So I'm gonna make a motion, we appoint Chris and Ron as 2022 reps going into 2025 reps for the Council on Aging.
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. So now you got a quorum that you're dealing with and I'm the guy who will pop his head in. Elderly and Disabled Tax Committee. And this is folks who, if we get applications for those, programs, they vet them. Yep. So I make a motion, we reappoint Maria, Beth and Helen.
Second.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Emergency Management, Scott. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wait, second, do we need to do a second? Who wants to second that one?
I'll second.
All right. All right, let's do a bunch of them now. Deputy Fire Chief Neil Haywood, Gas Inspector Greg Pilling, Alternate Gas Inspector Robert Gennari, Alternate Gas Inspector John Van Zant. All those in favor, I make a motion, we appoint all of them.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Just out of curiosity, is the Fountain Committee going to finish its work this year?
That is the hope. Yes, that should be
So-
last year, but.
And so we're going to appoint it, but just for another year. Fountain Committee, Kate, Carl, Gigi, and Robert Jones, Bob Jones.
Make a motion, we accept them.
Second,
Aye.
boom. Green Communities, Laura, Mike, Pat, Miles, and Starbuck.
I'll make a motion, we appoint them all.
Second. Was that an aye, Jamie?
Aye, yes.
Okay, good. Historic Preservation, we have Peter Williams. Peter Williams and Gary Johnson are up. And this is one where Gary likes it, right? This is one I've seen him show it many times. Yeah. Good. So let's appoint him again. All those in favor, Peter, I make a motion to nominate Peter and Gary.
Second.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. All right, excellent. Okay, pilot committee, we have 4 people. Is that a 5-person committee? Okay. So the first question I have is, I make a motion, we appoint Tom, Jay, Roxanne, and Peter.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all right. Now,
Missing name on there.
Yeah.
who is the missing name?
Who?
Sure.
Who?
No, Tom Sharp was on the housing one.
Oh, he's on the housing.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I don't know if you had a fit for pilot. We never have.
I think you have an opening.
What?
Every time, he always forgets, he's thinking of Tom Stokes.
No, Tom Stokes is on there, but it's a four-person
No,
committee.
I thought it was a 5, you just said.
Who did you read again?
Tom Stokes, Jay Bukowski, Roxanne, and Peter. Wasn't there someone else? Gary Pitney was on it forever.
No, he stepped off.
Oh, right, he stepped off.
So.
He just stepped off, didn't he?
Okay, so we need a pilot.
So anybody out there interested?
You guys,
Mike, you were gonna be on.
oh, don't. If you guys, well, look, if you guys can make something of it, more power to you. You know, and I believe if anyone can, but you know, it's sort
You
of like,
okay with 4?
it's been a lot of wheels.
I'm okay with 4, I think it's,
Yeah.
No, that's, yeah.
but you have an even number in terms of voting.
Well, if you guys want to tell the rest
I'll
of the
reach out to
board.
Tom Stokes
Yeah.
because you guys.
Whoever the
did-
chair is.
I'm now remembering
I
this.
have somebody in mind.
Is he
You
the
guys did have a
chair?
recommendation. You had a couple other people.
That's okay, okay.
Did we,
I'll
because
make a
Peter Strauss threw
motion,
his name in and we appointed him.
make a motion, to hold off on the.
All right, well, let's appoint these 4 and then we'll try to round it out so that if they have any work they want to do, they can do it.
I can follow up with Jay tomorrow.
So I make a motion, well, we already voted them in anyway. Planning board secretary, plumbing inspector, alternate plumbing inspectors, that's Jennifer, Greg, and Robert, John, and sewer and water commission secretary, again, Jennifer. Make a motion, we appoint all of them. Second, anyone?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye. Okay.
Is that yearly or?
Yes.
Okay.
Over your-
Let's see, Stockbridge Rural Stewardship Commission.
Make a motion, we accept Roxanne for the Sportsman's Club nominee, the representative.
I just have a question because in the past in our meeting, there was a question if that was a viable, for the 3 years I've been on it, Gary Johnson was the person. He never showed up, he never emailed, he never called, he never came to a meeting in person or on Zoom. I did reach out many, many times as the chair. I wanted to include him because he's a voting member. And we had talked about, and Mike Buffoni had talked about finding, there was a fisherman that he knew, but he never, and then we sort of got lost in details. But I guess, Mike, I just want to say, as history has shown, the Stockbridge Sportsman's Club has not participated. And is it?
Now they will.
And in the bylaws, it says, which we probably should have talked about years ago, unexcused absenteeism of voting members in excess of 4 meetings per year shall result in replacement.
Did anybody ever call the president of the sporting club and say your rep isn't showing up?
I didn't know that
So
was.
I'm not sure that, and I don't
I'm
want to.
just saying,
It's not true. They were notified.
Okay. But my point being
Okay.
that, you know, it's not always easy to find volunteers for this stuff. And if the club couldn't find one, they've now found one. And Roxanne, you plan on showing up?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, then,
That we
you know,
accept Roxanne.
I think we have a recommendation personally.
I
It's
made a
You
motion.
made a motion, right, I got it, but you haven't had a second yet, so that, you know, folks could have their say. But I do believe that, that the intent is to allow these groups to put forward someone who represents their interests and the interests of the town. And they've done so, and I'm going to second your motion. So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Congratulations. All right, now, did you end up talking to Don about a person separate from
I
John?
had mentioned it, but it's not yet. So I would appoint John as sewer and water for now.
No.
And if he makes a decision.
Henry doesn't want to do it, we won't have one then.
What?
We won't have one from water and sewer then. I'm sorry, from Board of Health. He's the only way that John can serve as Board of Health because Charlie won't do it and Henry won't do it. And those are the other 2 Board of Health members. Let's just leave the water and sewer one open and you guys find one.
The Board of Health has.
Can John do both or not?
If you just
okay.
want to appoint John, go ahead.
No, I don't care. I mean,
Michael, can he do both?
that creates a
Wait, I
quorum
asked a
issue.
question.
Yeah,
Can I?
yeah. I'm answering that.
No, you have to have a voting member from sewer and water and Board of Health, so you can't have two votes, so it's still,
No, but not two votes, but he couldn't represent both, bring information.
well, he could, but you still need the
But
representative.
he only gets,
Right,
could he
he only
do,
gets a vote. So
represent
you have
both in
7
the
voting-
interim
Right.
and have one vote?
Gives you an even vote.
What you,
I'm just saying, because we don't have two people.
right, and in order to keep the Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship Committee moving forward, you appoint John keep him on as water and sewer. And then approach both, I'll continue to work on water and sewer and Board of Health, and then
Board of
if we
Health.
need to, then if we need to switch John and appoint him instead of from the sewer and water, appoint him from the Board of Health, if one of the others from sewer and water is interested in taking it on.
Okay. Board of Health has 3 members. So one of the primary reasons Charlie went off is that he and John are on it. It creates a quorum. They have to post it and they don't have to do that. So it doesn't matter if Henry, the 3rd member, were to say, I'd love to, it still creates the quorum issue with the Board of Health. So if John is going to stay on the board, the only one you can have from that board is John. And that leaves every single member of water and sewer open to serve if they feel like it.
There's only 3 of them.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
And then that can create a quorum.
is John on,
Yeah.
there's only 3 members of water and sewer are elected?
It's a
Oh,
small,
then we have the same issue.
yeah, it's this, they have a small committee.
So why don't we do this as one of those special committees you talked about?
What do you mean?
It's still, so what I had mentioned to Patrick is
Was that a secret? Sorry.
communities, no.
Let
it's not
Michael
a secret.
finish.
That communities can appoint under 5,000 board members to be special municipal employees of an individual board. That allows them to serve on more than one board, because the smaller a community gets, you tend to have the same volunteers that step forward. So you can have people that serve. The problem is that you get into, and this more likely would happen with the Board of Health, is that an algae bloom or something that you could be talking about could be a Board of Health issue and a Stockbridge Bowl Stewardship Committee issue. So they could be debating something that's actually coming before them if they had to shut down the lake, the Board of Health or something.
But in that case, it always points
Sewer,
as a
water.
joint meeting, right?
Then you could post it as a joint meeting. There are options. You guys could also look to the fact, the select board has the option of, you have Jim Willits coming as Tri-Town
Yeah,
Health.
so we got a health department.
So you could look at, instead of the Board of Health, you could make Park and Recs, you could switch the
Right,
committee assignments also.
because we
So
talked about
if you
that.
want to get away from this whole quorum issue with other boards.
Right.
So there's a couple options here, nothing, right, it doesn't solve as much. So I think for right now, put John on, that at least gives you 6 of the 7 voting members, and now by next meeting, you can make a decision. Are you keeping the Board of Health? Are you changing the stakeholder group, which the bylaw allows the select to do?
Why don't we,
Let's appoint
But it
John then.
allows
John is
6 to
from
go,
water and sewer.
as long as
From water
4
and
show up, they can have a meeting.
and why
I
don't
love
you,
being right all the time, don't you?
can you check with the parks and Recs, if anybody wants to be on?
Someone, we have,
We talked about that at our meetings, about having a Parks and Recs person.
It's
Roxanne?
not that way in the bylaws, though, you have to change the bylaws.
No, we can change the stakeholders. The select board has the right to change the select board.
Actually, you wrote it that way, that the select board
I have a
has the,
suggestion.
yeah.
You could make Jim Willis the voting member for
Right.
the Board of Health.
Yeah, we talked
And then
about
John
that.
just stays as water and sewer.
water and sewer.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
That's
All right, well, but listen, before we move on to this one, because I got you 2 in the room, you guys, the SPSC is supposed to meet monthly. Now, if we appoint, so first of all, John, all those in favor of John going back to water and sewer, say aye.
Second.
All right, so we've got, we now have 6 members of the 7 we need of the quorum. Is that what you said?
Yep.
So you now can have a meeting and you can decide some of these open issues, like if you're going to jiggle the stakeholders and how we're going to get the 7th person on. And, like, we've got issues around the chair issue. I mean, not the chair, but, well, maybe the chair and who the select board rep is,
Scheduling issue.
Yeah, so the first thing I'd like to do is schedule a meeting.
It's coming next Friday.
It is.
Well, we're gonna try, and if we have a quorum,
Okay.
Well,
that's been the issue.
what was voted on in the board was initially it was the first and third Wednesday, and then when John came on, he couldn't do Wednesday. So we voted to do the first and third Friday. And it's twice a month, except for a couple of winter months when it's only once a month.
Right.
It's just not that much going on.
Okay, so we're good.
I mean, I think we're good. I would just like to throw out there that I'm open to not do it, but this is something I've had a strong interest in and strong participation in for a long time. And personally would appreciate being the select board rep on Stockbridge stewardship and the SBA. So if Jamie, if you feel strongly, then we'll talk about it. And
Can we talk about it?
yeah, we don't even have to talk about it tonight.
Right,
But
I think we have a lot more to go.
yeah.
Because you also run now, you have 2 selectmen on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If she doesn't, if she feels, you know, I want to just talk it out, but we don't have to talk it out now. I'm just kind of throwing the
Okay, let's move on.
okay. You got it.
That's fine.
Actually,
We also have Michael, Nathan, Gary, and Jim. We have
Oh,
to,
yeah.
you only have 5 members right now because you have an open selectman. Unless Jamie is moving over to the selectman, then.
right, because I thought
No.
Sally had mentioned that she would be conservation.
Did she?
Did she contact you?
No.
Oh,
Well, here's the thing, Sally, I had a conversation with Sally. And Sally said, if there's nobody else who's gonna step forward, I will do it.
so that was going to take the
Well, we should get that
conservation
from her,
slot,
though.
so.
For me,
Okay.
you know, somebody can reach out through.
We need to hear from her before we
I
plan.
had contact before the next meeting. Well, you want to have a meeting Friday, you could appoint her and I could call her and say, hey, do you want to serve? And you've been appointed and, but she can decline it if she wants.
I just need to say that there's probably no one in this town who's more qualified, more knowledgeable about Stockbridge Falls and Sally.
I'll make a motion, we appoint her, and if she decides not to, then we'll have an opening.
But now that takes,
So if you're appointing her to be the conservation, are you appointing, now you have the.
Then
selectmen and
I could
conservation working
cov-
together here.
Right.
So Jamie would be stepping down as.
I'm not prepared.
Yeah, I wouldn't do conservation, and then I could do the select
Yeah.
board unless Pat,
Yeah, that's-
until Patrick and I talk about it.
Oh, I'm not, I don't want to make any decisions around the select board rep until we talk about the policies around the bowl. And I would like to do that at could the next meeting be a joint select board / SBSC? Because I've had some conversations the last few weeks with Pat Kennelly that are, you know, because they've been doing testing, which is about the milfoil. There's a lot of open issues, and these are actually policy questions. And y'all know I floated some policies in the last quarter that some people liked and some people hated. And I would like to just have a bit of a discussion on actual where we are and where we're going before we decide like, you know.
Just remember that right now you only have 5 voting members.
And the quorum's 4, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if they have another meeting coming up.
I want that meeting to be a joint meeting between them and us.
Let them
Wait,
get settled in first.
well, if we do Friday, Patrick, is that enough time?
Well, I kind of want to do a brain dump. I've had about a dozen conversations related to the lake with various stakeholders since, you know, in the last week or two. And you know,
So why don't
Yeah.
you go and, you could go and present them. You're not a voting member and then they can discuss them. Are you asking the SBSC to come to the next?
I'm saying that I don't want to create a quorum by showing up as the only select person who's not on the board, and then, you know, someone is on the board. I would rather just have us come to selectmen, and then we have the 5 of them.
However you would like to do it.
I don't know, I'm just saying, I don't really care, but I would like a chance to talk about.
We can just, to protect you, we just post it as a selectmen's meeting and.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And if you and Jamie will be there, if Chuck can't make it because it's Friday morning, next Friday, but you still have.
We still have
an issue
4.
that You have to have 4 of the 5 show up.
Right.
So,
But I mean, as advisory, what do they, you know, I mean, do we have, we can't even attend, have the meeting if it's not a board. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
So what are we voting on here?
I know that the select board has a representative, evidently the Stockbridge Sportsman's Club has a representative, the Concom has a. Who else is, I mean, Board of Health, but who else is this?
Sewer and water,
Stockbridge Bowl
Town
Association,
Health.
Harbor Master and Tri-Town.
But the Harbor Master and Tri-Town Health by the bylaw are non-voting members. But
Stockbridge
the
Bowl
selectmen
Association.
could vote to change that.
The water department.
Water and sewer,
Michael
conservation.
Mahoney. And he doesn't live here, but he can vote.
Yep.
Sewer and Water Commission and Sewer and Water Department.
So we're going to continue that one in 2 weeks and we'll post this as a joint meeting. Is that all right?
Are
So
we voting
next
Sally in or not?
No, we voted Sally in, didn't we?
No.
No.
All right, so let's appoint Sally so she can at least participate in this meeting.
I'll make
But
it.
that means Jamie's not on the board at all. You have no selectman representative if you guys aren't appointing somebody tonight.
Oh,
If you vote Sally as a conservation and you're not gonna act on the select board one, there's no representative from the select board.
All right, but we're doing a joint meeting. We'll decide before they have another meeting. We'll decide it in 2 weeks.
They're holding another meeting next Friday.
Friday.
So we're going to be there. It's going to be a joint meeting.
Yeah, but they gotta have.
But you're gonna be, the select board are gonna be, right, guests of the SBSC, but there's no one on the SBSC from the select board.
I get that, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, they don't have any decisions. They're advisory to us. I mean, what difference does it make if they can vote, if they're, going to advise that meeting? I mean,
So are you not renewing Jamie as conservation and you're putting Sally on? So then neither you or Jamie or Chuck are on the stewardship Stockbridge Bowls.
for one meeting.
Right.
I mean, do you want to do it for one meeting? But just understand, I'm,
No, we gotta vote her in.
no, I know, but I don't have any issues with you doing that. I just, I'm starting with the herbicide stuff, and I've been on the SBA board, and I've been really focused on the natural resources of the town since I've been involved with the town. Campusa, all the stuff, all the other stuff that's going on. And frankly, when I was elected, I was hoping to do that, but it was Roxanne's thing that she had put together, and so of course she was going to do it. And I would just, it's an area of personal interest, and I think some of the decisions we need to make involve radical rethinking. It's no secret, so I'll just put it out there that I never supported a whole egg treatment, and I've tried to work in the last 6 months on getting rid of it. That sometimes came over better than others, but nevertheless, it is a priority of mine still, that we minimize the risk that we ever have a whole egg treatment there.
and that has also been my objective, not to put any chemicals in our lake.
That's different.
Well,
I
you
think,
can't be discussing that right now to begin
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
so, you guys are thin ice here.
Yeah.
So let's,
I'd
we
like,
gotta make a decision, do we appoint Sally tonight or not?
maybe
just
not
leave-
Take one
tonight.
step back.
Why don't we
You
wait?
have first, Mike Maffoni is up. Are you appointing Mike?
Yeah, sure.
Maffoni?
I'll make a motion,
Because
we
you have to get some of these done.
Is
Are
he
you
interested, or is there someone else that
No,
wants it?
Mike, put Mike
who
on.
do we have to appoint now?
Mike Maffoni, let's take him first.
And does he want it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Mike.
good, second, let's do them all. I mean, we got Mike Nathan, we got Gary Kleineman, we got Jim Willis, right?
Yep.
The list from John Lee Dice, Mike Buffoni, Jamie Minacci, we did Roxanne, Michael Nathan, Gary Kleinerman, Jim Willis. Make a motion, we appoint all of those to the Stockbridge Stewardship
Or
Commission.
you just appointed Jamie, that's what we wanna do?
I mean, we have point Jamie on, just so that she can show up, she is the chair, and this allows her to show up. Maybe we don't, however it works out in your satisfaction, and you want to appoint Sally, you just resign and we appoint Sally.
Okay.
I mean, what's wrong? Yeah.
So we're appointing everybody on the list. And then you guys decide what you wanna do after.
Right.
But
So
you
you're
two.
appointing Jamie as the conservation.
Yes. All those in favor, or
I'll
second?
second.
All those in favor?
My hand.
I have a question.
Are you going to appoint Jim Willis to be representing the Board of Health as a voting member?
Can we do that?
Yes, it's in the bylaws.
Yeah, it's right here.
That allows you
Okay, good. So let's
You
do
have
it
to
that way.
vote on it.
membership of the board, yes.
Okay.
So are you gonna,
Yeah, so let's put Jim Willis on the Board of Health one, that is another voting member.
I
Second.
will call him tomorrow and confirm that he will serve as a voting member. I think he makes most of the meetings,
Yeah.
so,
He says,
yeah,
I'll second that.
and he is.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
all right.
All right,
So you're removing the Board of Health.
yes.
and
I'm going to
appointing
suggest a
Jim
2-minute
Willis.
break because I need to use the restroom.
Mike, you need to reach out to Sally.
Yeah,
Phone number 298-34.
I understand.
Okay, so done with this technical commission for now.
Appreciate it.
You two
Confused.
work it out, what you want to work out.
Oh my gosh, that was a monkey wrench.
Because he's getting the territory he can't be into tonight.
Patrick's going to ask you a question, and I saw that something on the agenda about the Campusa Bog Stewardship Committee.
And
That just is a little way what happened there.
what's that?
The Campusa Bog,
What happened in the past with the committee?
That was actually a committee of state organizations and others, and it just sort of fizzled. My understanding, and I don't,
Yeah,
city special was really bad.
right, she was the glue that held it together, and basically after that, it just sort of fell apart. So
we gotta look into that too, because that's state,
it was organized.
but I mean,
She
the
organized it with a lot of
the bog is state, we gotta work with the state, plus it's also on, my nephew worked in Washington and got what it was for, some of all these critical.
Right.
And that's even in there, so it's in the
Area.
next level up too, so we gotta do our homework to see what authority we have to even do this.
You can, because the town declared it, conservation declared it an area.
Yeah, but-
critical.
But if it's an area of concern for the state and higher, do they supersede us or,
They can if they want.
okay, they probably
But
won't, but
no one's done anything, right?
You know,
they know, it's something that's gotta be protected.
there is a critical concern.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Dog right now. Part of it's getting uprooted because of the water.
Yeah. Well, most of that was pasture.
Really?
Back in the day?
Back when you were,
No, before me. My father used to say there was a path from there to Mary Fowler's. We used to bring the horses and drag the logs
Really?
from our side to Mary Fowler's side. Yeah, that was never there.
this is your namesake, Chuck?
Was that?
Chuck, your namesake?
Before that.
Wow.
And if you see the old fence line, the whole fence line's way in the swamp.
I have to go wandering in there. I'll call you and ask if I.
Oh, you never get out.
Trespass.
That's not mine, that's state land there. But you used to be able to you used to be able to walk across in some places, but you never make it anymore.
Judy Spencer once told me that you could actually walk on the bog.
Yeah, you can. I've done it.
It keeps sinking though, you gotta keep moving. Bump to bump.
I don't know what it looks like now, but years ago, I went out there.
Yeah.
and used to do
Town
science
council,
class.
veterans agents.
Yeah, it's,
But if you just read them all.
you can go a little ways, but not like.
Yeah, I don't, the ZBA, there was a person in the packet that's not on the list here, so we're going to hold off on that. And, Catherine Chester, yeah.
Yeah, it was noted in there.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm sorry, I missed it. Okay, so the Veterans Agent, Town Council, Wire Inspector, alternate wire inspector. Veterans Agent is Lori Hills, Town Council, Donna Brewer, Wire Inspector, Nick Fredsall, alternate Wire Inspector, Henry Blanchett. I make a motion, we appoint all four.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, ZBA, Tom is up. I heartily make a motion, we appoint Tom and Catherine Chester, as I assume is Matt's wife, yes?
And Tom wants the job.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think Tom does an excellent job running that meeting. I hope they reelect him chair. And Catherine, it's great that we got some new folks coming on. I make a motion, we appoint two, both of them.
Second.
Wait, who?
Oh, Mark Mills is an alternate. Mark Mills, Catherine Chester, and Tom Schuler. What?
No, there's no opening.
Tom Schuler is a 2022.
Right,
sorry, I
he,
And then you have your two
He's
yearly
chair.
alternates.
The alternates are always every year.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
Second.
good. May all those in favor? Yes, 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 yes. Okay. And then we've got the Housing Trust Board, which we are not prepared to name yet. We have Campoosavag Stewardship. We have 5 slots, but we already have had interest in a number of folks, including Louise Gachet, who is Tom's wife. She put a letter in today. Laura Beasley, who's happy to chair it, which is great. We've had interest from Lisa Bizzuto being on there, and Shelby and Rich said that they might want to, but I haven't confirmed that yet. So I don't believe, Shelby, if you're watching, that was my sense, that I might have forgotten. So I think we should at least go ahead and appoint the 3 of them, and then if the other 2 want to participate, appoint them, and if not, we just find others. That allows us to get started on this hydrology thing and collecting the information, which is all over town.
Second.
All right, so we're gonna start with Louise, Lisa. Let me just think for a second if Shelby.
Say
We got a
Louise.
letter from Shelby, we didn't, did we?
I didn't see one.
All right, so let's just do Lisa Bizzuto, Louise, and Laura Beasley. Second, you seconded those?
Second.
Okay, thank you, all those in favor, aye. Now, RSDVB is appointed by the moderator. Did you have a chance to talk to Yuri?
No, I haven't. I'll have Teresa reach out to him.
Okay.
Do we
Okay.
have one at all yet, or no? There wasn't anyone.
Well, no, Sean, Stephen, and I are represented now. I believe Nick has dropped off, maybe, but there's 3, and they're actually very important. I mean, it's the kind of the biggest decision we'll probably make as a town in the next 20 years.
You didn't hear from,
What?
what did you put on for the Campoosavag?
Oh, right here.
Laura, Lisa.
Okay, Lisa's on.
Oh, hi, Lisa.
I don't know.
Congratulations. And the 3rd was Louise Gachet.
Right here, Louise
yeah.
and Lisa and.
Yeah. And now, let's see, we can put, let me just make sure that there's nothing else we need to talk about.
Late.
I know, I
You
get
have one
it,
more.
but you guys are the ones who said 2 meetings a month. So that means these are gonna be a little later, so just give me a second.
Fine.
Other priorities for.
We're not gonna get to that, it's too late, and I'm gonna put them up on the list. I wouldn't mind doing just a 45-minute dedicated meeting to priorities, but that's up to you guys, because we gotta talk about the intersection.
Yep.
We gotta talk about just when we're gonna meet, and then we're gonna do our presentations. Or we try to do it now, but I don't think that's that long.
No, we got to meet. I want to get the information from Mike on who we're going to come in and present and stuff
All
like
right,
that.
so you wanna do that one sometime around the 30th, maybe? And then we can
Yeah,
do
this month, even in July. I mean, we can,
just don't push it up too far, because, if you want a special town meeting, we gotta announce it and, get it.
I'll go with Mike and we'll get
So
that
the
going.
next meeting is the 23rd, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have one special permit.
Right.
And
Now-
then that's really about it.
Can you reach out to Georgia Marsden and ask her how we're managing the town scholarships that were turned over to Berkshire Taconic and any other things she knows about scholarships? She is the expert on scholarships in town, and she has some thoughts on this. Peter has to chair this, that's in the law. So maybe you, Peter, and Georgia could make a recommendation on what we need to do to form that. I think we just adopted that law, so that's like going, that's in place now, right? So I just want to make sure that when the next tax bill comes out in November, that we're kind of ready to go. We have everything in place to be ready to go. Because it's a checkoff on your taxes.
Right, and then the money would come in sometime in December.
Yeah, I know, but when it comes in, it's fine. I just don't want to miss a cycle where people can be donating.
The donations are gonna happen, period.
What?
The donations are going on the tax bill, period. The only thing the committee does is for handing out. So you're not gonna have any money next year to hand out because you'll just be collecting the money just before.
Well, there's 2 tax bills that come out before May. I mean, one comes out in April, one comes out in November, and if we get all the typesetting and what the wording is.
November,
What?
the next tax bill's November.
Yeah, right. It's 5 months off. You don't think we can kind of come up with the language so that we can put in the optional checkbox for
The checkbox is going on.
It's going to be on there.
That's not something that.
No, you got to try, Peter, there's a whole bunch of ways that you can format the checkbox with suggested amounts, and that other towns do it. I think you should just touch base with Peter and ask him. And if you want to just do a simple one where you can check for $5, That's
And
not
then
kind of what I
you can
recommended.
adjust it as we go forward and,
Some people might be in a position to give a lot more than kind of a
all right.
default recommended.
It's not gonna happen for a while. We got the closeout at the end of the year. We have to have the finance committee. We have all the grant closeouts that have to happen. So I'm not gonna get that for a while.
What does that mean?
Not till after the mid-July if they're.
Oh, okay. I mean, like I said, the thing doesn't come out till after the tax.
Well, that's what I was saying,
application
right?
Right. No, I understand. It's just, we have to recruit 3 other people. The critical path issue here is that it must consist of Peter, Dylan, and 4 other people.
Right.
So that's the first thing is, it's not exactly easy to recruit people in this town to serve. So I'm happy to do that part, but I just wanted to get feedback on Peter of what that should entail. So you don't even have to do anything if you don't want. I'll just talk to Peter myself.
All right.
All right, good. All right, let's see. We already dealt with those 2. So, and then there's 3 projects that I want to talk about in the next meeting. And the intersection we can put off to July, you said.
Yeah.
So it's just 2 things.
Or we can put all 3 of those on the next.
You can put it out, we'll just discuss them, yeah.
Because right now we have a special permit, we have these, and I'm not sure what else you're gonna want to put on here, but this was a lot of the appointments end of the year stuff.
Yeah, we did a good job.
Good job.
Okay.
Not bad.
I mean, I could talk for half an hour about the residential exemption now if you guys want. I mean, I really see how excited you are. So,
Do it next meeting.
No.
We don't have a lot of next meeting.
All right. Thank you for everything, and I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Anybody from the public have anything to say?
You did the public.
we already had their public.
You already
I know, I'm asking at the end too. I'm asking twice,
Once.
early and often. No, because at the end they might have with sense,